this meeting of the Pearland Independent School District Board of Trustees to order on March, what is today? 6th, 2018 at 5 o'clock p.m. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. Let the record show that trustees Beegler, Murphy, Gooden, Berry, Floyd, Botkin, and Decker are present. All right. This is the portion of the board meeting where the board receives input from patrons. Each person who addresses the board will have 5 minutes to speak on his or her issue. Because of topic posting requirements of the Open Meetings Act, board members will not ask questions of the patron and will not answer any questions posed to the board by the patron. No action can be taken on any issue presented during the patron comment segment of the board meeting. Patrons addressing the board will be notified when they are approaching the last 30 seconds of their allotted time to speak. So we have 7, so I'm going to go ahead and just let all 7 speak. Okay. Ms. Rizzo and Ms. Hanks.
Hello there. I'm Donna Rizzo. I'm the president of the Pearland ISD Education Foundation. And this is Dina Hanks, our president-elect. We just wanted to come out and not spend 5 minutes, but just a few minutes, and let y'all know how thankful we are. The Education Foundation just had their 3rd annual Education Gala, which was held on Saturday, March the 3rd at the Citadel, Houston. The foundation hosted 330 people. The royal theme raised, which featured dinner, dancing, live and silent auction, and jewelry raffle. We had a grand total of our annual giving campaign and gala event raised over $143,000 for our organization and our mission. We are very thankful to our community. We're very thankful to our community and all of our business owners and everyone here. Funds go to the support educational programs and activities that enrich teaching and inspire learning for students and teachers in our district. Since our inception of 2014, we have given over $237,000 in grants, which help our kids in the district. We wish to thank Dr. Kelly for his service to our organization, and also School Board President Rebecca Decker, who currently serves as our board trustee appointee for the Foundation Board of Directors. We have a great partnership with the district, and we feel that this contributes to a lot of our success.
We'd also like to thank each board trustee who have and continues to support our mission and our annual fundraisers, the Grown Up Spelling Bee, and as Donna was talking, our gala, the Evening for Education. The foundation is also proud of the relationship that we have with the Board of Trustees, as Jeff Berry was our founding president, and both Charles Gooden, Sean Murphy, both of them were founding board members as well. And like Donna said, we contribute a lot of our success to our relationship with the district. So thank y'all so much from our, very sincerely thank y'all. We'd like to also recognize our gala sponsors, Stanfield Properties, Stantec Architecture, Dr. Cordes with the Center for ENT, Susan Linneman and the David L. Smith Realty Group, and the Stay Focused team. We are proud to have over 45 annual giving partners collectively contributing over $98,000 to our mission for the school district. We are also extremely thankful for the generosity of our district employees that have given over $150,000 through our annual giving campaign since 2014. I know the gala got an applause, but that deserves an applause. Sorry. We are so very thankful for our district employees. The foundation is proud to be part of this community and is proud of what our school district continues to achieve. And to continue the theme from the other night, for the eternal legacy of heirs and educational excellence in our community, long may we reign. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Healy. Healy, Healy.
Hello. Yep, Lori Healy. I am with the Pearland ISD Council of PTAs, and I run the Swap Shop and Community Clothes Closet. I just wanted to come and publicly thank all of the people, many of whom are in this room, who have supported this program for so many years. That is a bit of a labor of love, and used to be a once a month, one night a month venture that quickly became a full-time nonprofit organization of its own. But we have gotten so much amazing feedback. I've been given so many letters of thanks and from other school districts that we were actually able to assist just because of the infrastructure that we already had in place. I think I probably helped 9 other districts locally, and with the unwavering support of all of our administrators, every principal, every counselor, many people in this room. It has just been a very humbling experience. I really believe, as a parent and being involved in multiple PTAs and booster clubs throughout our district, that without the leadership in this room, people work for people, let's be honest. So when I ask of things of our administrators at our schools, or of our counselors, or of our teachers, my reasonable requests have never been denied, and that just speaks to me that we want to make sure that we want to do everything we can to make sure our students have exactly what they need to go to school and feel like they're a part of the school. And because of that, we have a structured place for our students to get what they need to go to school prepared. I've been told by many districts of people who sent people down to get items from us that they could not believe that we had this available to our students, that they had never seen anything like it. Could I please come and teach their PTA council how to do it? There's only one person of me, so that might be a hard task to do. But I would gladly do it if it meant another school district could have that available to them. So I just wanted to express my gratitude and thanks for all of the support that we receive. We are often kind of teased on the state level as the wealthiest PTA council in the state, and because of that, we offered almost $30,000 in scholarships money last year, and this year our earnings, even though 2 games short, were actually more. So this year we will exceed that in spite of a natural disaster. We will give more scholarships, and it's because of the support of the people in this room and the people who work for this district, all the way down to the teachers. And I got to tell you, the custodians on the campuses that unlock the door for me every time I need it, that, thank you, yes. Every single person, the National Junior Honor Society students that show up and help me sort clothes. It's not the funnest job, trust me, but we make it fun, and we get every kid involved, and the amount of parents that came, the amount of donations we received, it just was such an incredibly humbling experience. And I have to say that so many from other school districts came and saw and experienced it and were very envious. So I just want to tell you how proud I am to be part of this organization and to give just a little bit of my time and effort to support what you guys do. And thank you so much for taking care of my children.
Thank you. Hey, Ms. Roberts.
Yes, good evening and hello, and welcome to everybody who attended tonight. It's interesting, I look at the crowd here and I see a reflection of the huge diversity of the people who now live in Pearland, all our folks who've resettled from parts of the United States and really parts all around the world. And then I'm fixing to turn around here, and I'm going to look at mostly a whole bunch of old white people. You're accepted, Mike, because you're not old. And I will say I have good news and I have bad news. So I'll start with the good news first. I know a lot of you consider yourselves to be very religious, and you talk about love and being good to your fellow man. And I know that my daughter, Clara Catherine Roberts, was perhaps the closest thing to a virtual angel on earth that I have ever met. She and I both have always only wanted to help other people. And I know that while I've never heard anything about it, Dawson High School in its origination, supposedly part of its mission was to preach about organ donation. Like, I guess that's just not a priority anymore because I've never heard anything about it once the school was opened. But Clara believed in donation, and I am very proud to tell you that despite the shattering grief I have suffered, I have worked closely with the University of Pittsburgh as one of only 6 sites in America that can accept donations of brains. It has required rigorous interviews over multiple months, and I have had to get releases for every doctor Clara Kate ever saw. Thank goodness she was healthy. It wasn't that many. And I am here to tell you that Boston University has told you kids younger than 18 should not be playing tackle football, and no way should a district support kids 12 and under in tackle contact sports. You are damaging their brains. The science, which I know a lot of y'all just don't believe in, proves it. You don't have to have a single concussion. You just have to have a lot of hits to your head. And it will affect, and this matters with teenagers particularly, football before age 12 can impair mood and behavior later in life. I'm sure you're all aware of Aaron Hernandez's out of control, I'll kill you anger, and indeed at his autopsy he had severe CTE. It's now staged in 4 stages, much like a cancer. Stage 1 has been found in the boys' brains who only ever played middle school and high school football. So you can tell yourself you need God on the football field, but what you really need to do is step up and do the right thing and protect your children's brains from tax-funded damage. Now the bad news. So Clara cares about your kids' brains, and she will be forever a control brain for purposes of neurologic research, and they tell me that that's going to benefit literally thousands of institutions because they never get healthy, normal young brains. And if you bother to read any of the research, you'll see that they compare 100 football brains to like 12 normal brains. So her brain's going to be used everywhere in all kinds of research into, you know, what's in people's heads. The bad news is your superintendent received a letter from the Board of Americans United for Separation of Church and State. And I don't know, he's so bathroom obsessed, he might have used it for toilet paper. But you should be aware that they are currently suing Bossier City School District. And I personally have a problem with the policy of community relations non-school use of facilities, because he's allowed a church to meet at the other Silver School, Silvercrest, for over 3.5 years. It's supposed to be a year. They park their junk there on Saturdays, they put signs up, it's a violation, and I'm quite sure that the Board of Americans United will be looking forward to hearing about that. Maybe you'll get another letter. Ta-ta. Remember, you're here to take care of the children, and I'm sorry that the state of Texas can't give you enough money to run your schools that you don't have to have parties.
Okay, Ms. Duncan? Duncan.
time has started. Hi, and my name is Stephanie Duncan. Thanks for having us here tonight, and thank you for the opportunity for us to speak about the desperately needed rezoning of Sunrise Lake neighborhood here today. So we've come many times, and there have been many neighbors who have come over the past couple of months to come and express the same exact sentiment that we've been expressing since last April-ish, May-ish. We recognize and appreciate the efforts of Don Tillis in working with us as we explore ways to bring our children closer to schools, closer to home. As you know, half of our neighborhood has been paying the price in student travel across the city to zoned campuses from west of Cullen all the way to east of 35. And anybody who has driven that lately, probably half of you here, know that that's not anything that's exactly fun, including the trains and the traffic lights as well. So this is all due to zoning decisions that were made 10 years ago. We understand that zoning changes have costs associated with them, but as parents, we believe this zoning change to the Challenger, Rogers, Berry Miller, Dawson zoning feeder pattern is a very small price to pay for a neighborhood that has been suffering and hurting for the past decade. We just can't express enough the importance of reuniting our neighborhood and bringing parents the peace of mind to have their children on shorter bus rides and with less likelihood of traffic, accidents, and trains, as well as have our children forge relationships with the kids in their own immediate community. As a community, we stand together to help make this zoning change and have our students attend schools closer to the Sunrise Lake neighborhood. We met with Mr. Tillis on February 1st, and he showed us the projections for each of the schools in the Challenger, Silver Lake, Silvercrest path to Rogers Middle School and then to Berry Miller Junior High. Our half of the subdivision can fit within the Challenger Elementary and Rogers Middle School enrollment numbers, but when we put the junior high over by about 60 people, according to Mr. Tillis. But this effect only lasts for about 5 years, though. So we put down several options on paper for PISD to evaluate the rezoning possibility and help bring our children closer to schools, closer to home. Any of those options we listed are better than making our children pay the price of sending them across town for 9 years, I'm saying K through 8, of their education, and we all go back across town to attend Dawson High School, and having them endure the mental, emotional, and social hardships of this duration when it's only a matter of making use of existing resources to instead have them fit within the Berry Miller Junior High capacity. With the recent events at Dawson, with Pearland ISD supporting mental health awareness, this couldn't be a more appropriate time to step up and do the right thing for our children. There are parents that are coming forth that are saying, my oldest had to go through this and they got ripped apart. My son went through depression at the end of 8th grade because at 9th grade, he had to go back across town to Dawson to where his friends were not at. And this is all during their formidable years, right? They go through puberty, 5, 6, 7, 8 grades, right? You get into high school. It's hard. So I believe that I hope that you have all been briefed on the options, but here's what we have asked. These are all options that we've asked for PISD to evaluate, and we seriously hope that you do. One is allow all the Sunrise Lake neighborhood students to attend the Challenger, Rogers, Berry Miller, Dawson feeder pattern, and this can be accomplished by adding 2 portables to the Berry Miller Junior High campus to allow for the approximately 60 to 70 students, about 35 per grade, to be zoned from the Sunrise Lake neighborhood to the Berry Miller Junior High. So there's a set of portables at both Silver Lake Elementary and Silvercrest, which are 4 classrooms each, neither of which are being used, and it's a sunk cost the district has already paid for. Those can be moved over to Berry Miller Junior High. Now, don't get me wrong, we understand that there are costs with reappropriating them, we understand that there are costs with utilities. We do understand this, but that is a very small price to pay to get our kids closer to home. It's a very easy option to be able to implement. The second one is to create a transition path for the Sunrise Lake neighborhood students to follow. Have the K through 4th and 5th and 6th grade Sunrise Lake neighborhood students enter Challenger Elementary and Rogers Middle School, respectively, for the 2018-2019 school year. Those students will then transition into Berry Miller, then to Dawson High School, and become a part of that feeder pattern. Portables may have to be added to accommodate this because, well, Dawson's already got, quite a few portables. So, and that's something that the PISD will have to figure out anyways. So option A for the junior high is have the Sunrise Lake neighborhood junior high students attend their zone campus through their junior high career, and then attend Dawson per the zone feeder pattern. So all Sunrise Lake neighborhood students thereafter attend Berry Miller, and this gives the district 2 more years to figure out another solution if PISD does not want to add portables in the 2018-2019 school year. So the other option is to rezone other areas that are kind of by our neighborhood, Crystal Lake. Oh, thank you, I see, sorry. The other option is just to look at other areas besides our neighborhood. We've endured this for 10 years. We've been paying the price for 10 years. Again, it's time for somebody else to help lessen the burden, or come up with another set of solutions. We've provided those, and we'd very much like for you to look over them and consider them and help us in this plight. Thank you very much for your time.
Mr. Fulis?
Hi, everyone. As you may know, Kimberly Shapley has found a new job and is moving her family to a school district that will put the needs of her children before the politics of religious extremism. She is leaving Pearland so that she can save the life of her child, so that she can save it from the very people whose first and foremost duty is to protect that life. We have taken a brilliant, friendly, and completely harmless little girl and driven her and her family from our city. All because we couldn't stand up to a misguided, irresponsible, and dangerous superintendent. It sickens me to think that some of you may feel a sense of relief right now, thinking that a bothersome impediment has been removed from your path. You might even think that now I can stop showing up at meetings and giving these little speeches. Think again. What you should feel is a sense of failure and of shame. That is certainly what I feel, just because this city is my home. And that is not how I want my city to act. So I'm here to remind you today that standing up to superintendents is exactly the job of this school board. You are the only conduit of public accountability that the superintendent has, and so that is your most important responsibility. It has now been 6 full months since I invited the board members that have not done so to go and meet with Kimberly and her daughter, talk to her, and see firsthand if they could find it in their hearts to continue treating her as some kind of threat, humiliating her and singling her out from her classmates. I have reminded you about it in these meetings every single month since that time, and the response that Kimberly and I have received has been silence. To be honest, what bothers me the most is not that you still don't understand transgenderism or the better ways that this issue could be handled, even after all of my attempts to provide you with information. What bothers me the most is that the board owes it to any student to at least meet them and talk to them before allowing the superintendent to take actions that put them at risk. And yet I've seen no indication that you even care about that risk. Maybe you just sit there behind your big desk every month thinking that I'm not really talking to you. Let's see if we can rectify that. Jeff Barry, I am talking to you. Lance Bakken, I am definitely talking to you. Rebecca Decker, as president of this board, I am definitely talking to you. Charles Gooden, I am talking to you too. I know you said hello to Kimberly in a meeting, and you know that's not even close to what I'm talking about here. Sean Murphy, not only am I talking to you, I can't for the life of me understand why you're running for another term. You seem to just go along with whatever the superintendent says on every single question. At his prompting, you even voted against seatbelts on new school buses. I mean, who does that? Pam Bogler, you're a short timer now, but yeah, I was talking to you too. And now it's too late. The only board member that I was not talking to is Mike Floyd. He's known Kimberly and her daughter even longer than I have, and he is someone that cares. So I hope that's clear enough. Something else I want to say is that I'm quite aware of the drawbacks of one-way communication. I have to believe that after all the speeches I've made, there must be something that the board or Dr. Kelly would like to give a perspective on, or perhaps just some piece of information that you think I'm missing. Believe it or not, I would certainly value some kind of dialogue with you. If we don't have dialogue, then all we have left is conflict. I prefer the former, I really do. But if that's not the route you choose, then our only path is to replace you with someone who will do better. I'm telling you right now that none of you will see another unopposed election as long as you keep voting to renew Dr. Kelly's contract. You are on the wrong side of history on this, and you are embarrassing our city There are many other transgender students in Pearland ISD,
Mr. Felix, 20
some
seconds.
that you know about and some that you don't, and they deserve to have someone fighting for them. This issue is not going away. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Ashley? Ashley?
Hi, this is my first time here, and I'm not a public speaker.
Okay.
I'm just coming as a parent, asking for my kids to be zoned to the schools that are closer to us. Thank you. I live in Sunrise Lakes, and a portion of our neighborhood is zoned differently than the rest of our neighborhood, and the kids are going too far away. It causes a lot of hardship on us. I know there's a lot of people like me in the neighborhood. We've come to Pearland. We work downtown Houston. We've come here. We don't have family here. We depend on child care, and we're trying to work on bigger issues. And when we're dependent on daycare, we need it to be close to home. We want our kids to be able to do the tutoring at school, after-school activities, sports. We want them to have lots of friends. It's too hard for us to get across town. Yes, there is a bus, and the kids are leaving an hour before school starts in the morning. They're not making it to tutoring in the morning. After school, we have to leave work to be able to get from downtown to the schools for them to be able to do that. It's, constantly a battle getting down there. Kid gets sick during school hours, to be able to get to them from downtown, it's too far. It's too far. We wanted to be here. We don't want our kids in the Houston HISD or in the inner city schools. That's why we chose the area. We want to be close to 288 so we can get to work. And I've never spoken publicly before, so we just want to be closer to our schools. And the kids, changing schools for myself, I've had 2 kids do it. It's hard. They go from doing birthday parties every weekend, having lots of friends, to they're not happy. They're not happy doing it. It's really hard for them to readjust. And when your kid tells you they're depressed, it's a lot. And I know it's a number game and a money game, but it's a lot. I don't want him on the bus for 2 hours a day. He's an active kid. We depend on daycare. I want him to be able to have, friends. And I've reached out to each of you individually. I've emailed you all. I've emailed a lot of people in the community. And I've talked to Mr. Tillis. I know there's a lot of factors involved, but if you'd please take it into consideration. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Torrenson?
Hi, thank you for letting me speak with you today. I wrote down a few things I'd like to say. First of all, I have good news that I want to express to you. I moved to Pearland almost 20 years ago because I believe and continue to believe that it is a place and was the best place and continues to be the best place for my children, for my family, and to call home. I'm talking to all of us, not just some of you. I'm including myself. Yes, I have also talked to and invited a conversation with Kim. I've known Kim for over 10 years. I've prayed with her, I've cried with her, and I've laughed with her. I've also talked to those that have surrounded her and invited them into many conversations and dialogues that have all been unmet. But I'm here to say to each of you and to everyone here that we don't say thank you to you enough. And so I want to say to each of you, thank you. Thank you. You're not perfect. But I believe that you are doing a good job. You're doing the best job that you can. You're wrestling with issues that our nation is wrestling with, and it's not easy. and it's no simple solutions, but I believe that you are engaging in the conversation. And I want to take a minute to say thank you. I've lived in this community for a long time. My kids have attended school here. I've been in public education as a teacher and a coach for almost over 10 years in 2 different school districts. And many times we get lost in the criticism and the criticisms and the passions and agendas of individuals and groups, and we fail to recognize all the amazing things that are going on around us. My desire tonight is to thank you, to honor you, and to bless you, and to pray for you, and to understand that your job is difficult. Your job's not easy. You are not perfect people. And as I look around this room, I don't see any perfect people sitting here, including myself. But that doesn't make you bad people. It doesn't make you unjust people. I believe each of you are serving and sitting in these seats because you care about the children, not just some of them, but all of them, from every background, race, and every religion. Sitting in those seats, you become representatives of our kids, and as such, I believe you must give up your right to bring your personal agendas and opinions to the table so that you might address the collective agendas and needs of all of our kids, every one of them. What I've seen over the last couple years is an amazing commitment to all of our children by amazing leaders, teachers, staff, and administrators. People don't always see is the tireless effort that all of you and the employees of this district put in above and beyond what's expected of them, not because they have to, but because they care about our kids and our families. Things like United for Kids. If you don't know about it, learn about it, because it's where a city gathers to talk about the needs and the issues of our children and to meet those needs out of our own pockets, our own resources, our own businesses, every child in our district. And we sit and listen to the needs, and we respond as a city together in unity and help to meet those needs. When a family's home burns down, the city responds to meet that family. When there's crisis, when there's suicide, when there's issues, we rise as a city to meet those needs. Why? Because you give us permission to. You invite us, you engage us, and you ask us to be a part of it. Angel Tree, where we give out gifts to children, not because we have to, not because it's in the budget, but because the city says we want to, and we partner with you because you invite us to. Thank you for inviting us to partner with you to meet the needs of our children above and beyond what's expected. Suicide Prevention Task Force. We could talk a long time about what's happening in our district. I am a parent of a child who's attempted 7 suicides. I've got issues in my family that we work with that many of you don't know, that we challenge every day, but this district has met every need and met me. Not been able to give me the answers. I've been frustrated at times, but they care and they engage. Rise Mentoring, over 400 kids in 2 years, is now a model for our state and our nation. Why? Because we care. Not because we have to, but because we can't do anything but care. So thank you for loving our kids. Thank you for caring. And I would challenge you to do this. Stay engaged. Stay present. Stay prayerful if that's what you do. Love our children. Wrestle behind closed doors with the issues. Whatever it takes, let your voices be heard. But when you come out representing our families and our district and our children. And I expect you to represent all of them, not just one stream, not just one people, not just one ideology, but all of our kids. And I'm thankful that my faith, and I know the faith of many of you, commands you to represent and love all of our children, not just some. So this issue of taking care of just one child isn't the issue. The issue is all of them. You've done a great job. I'm behind you. Keep doing it.
Okay. The Board of Trustees of the Pearland Independent School District will adjourn into closed session at 5:34. No voting will take place in the closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as a result of discussion in closed session will take place after the board reconvenes in open meeting. The board will reconvene in open session at 6:11 p.m. No action was taken in closed session. Is there a motion?
Sorry, I was drinking water. I move we accept and approve the superintendent's recommendation for employment of personnel as presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion made by Ms. Spiegler and a second by Mr. Botkin. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor? The motion carries 7-4 and 0 against. All right, Mr. Botkin, you're up.
Please stand.
Please stand. Pledges. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. First off, wow.
Yeah.
I know, great,
Good
great.
job. Big round of applause for being here. I think Mr. Berger is our resident statistician, and he said this is a record-breaking night, so that's awesome. So, Mr. Berger. No, thank you guys for being here. Just know that, you know, as a board member, you know, we are elected officials. We get paid a lot of money to do what we do. We tripled our salary from 0 to 000, just in case you're wondering. So, no, we always, I speak for every board member up here, we always have the best interest of everybody and every family and every child and every staff member always deep on our hearts. And I want you, please understand that. And we take our jobs very, very seriously, and we treat them as such, as a job. And I thank all of you, and thank you for being here tonight. And I'm gonna pray for us. Heavenly Father, thank you for these wonderful people coming in and supporting their children. Let's continue those healthy connections with children and parents and families. Sometimes we lose our way, you know, away from our families. We kind of get connected with other things, and then we lose sight of the family. So, and myself included. So please help us and help everybody in this room become better at getting those connections with their kids and their family. Help us make great decisions for all of our community. In your loving name we pray. Amen.
Right, so, board, we're just gonna,
Oh, yeah, board
Right
recognition.
to it.
we're gonna go right to it. Because there's a lot of people.
I put it right there so we can share it. I put it right there so we can share it.
Good evening. Pearland Independent School District is home to some of the most talented students in the state of Texas, and we're so proud of them, and we're so happy you're here tonight. And now comes the time we love, because we recognize these students for their achievements. I want the parents to know that we will be having group photos, if you would like, out in the lobby area. We have a photographer set up out there. So after your student gets their recognition, if you guys head on out to the lobby area, we'll clear that hall, get out in the lobby, and get group photos or any photos you'd like. Those photos will be available on the district Flickr account and downloadable for you this week, okay? Before we begin our student recognition, we have a special presentation this evening. This month, Pearland ISD is holding its 8th annual Youth Art Month Art Walk, and it has local businesses that serve as galleries to display our students' artwork. At this time, I'd like to invite District Fine Arts Facilitator Valerie Torres French to come forward.
Every year in March, Youth Art Month is celebrated to promote art and art education across the United States. During this month, the Pearland ISD Fine Arts Department continues the tradition of our annual Art Walk. This year, we have 28 businesses that have agreed to serve as galleries and display nearly 200 of our students' original artworks. The list of businesses supporting us this year is on our Pearland ISD website. Pearland ISD students can also pick up a passport from their campus art teacher or print one out from the Pearland ISD Fine Arts webpage to participate in our Youth Art Month raffle. Our students and teachers have worked very hard to make this Youth Art Month a success. So if you're looking for something fun to do over spring break, we hope you'll be able to stop by and see some of the amazing artwork our students have created. Also, if you're looking for some student art to purchase, this Thursday, Pearland High School will be hosting their annual scholarship art auction from 6 to 8 p.m. And I also want to thank Mayor Reed for taking time out of his day to come and celebrate Youth Art Month with Pearland ISD.
We're very honored that our mayor, Mayor Tom Reed, is here to present a special proclamation on behalf of Youth Art Month.
Good, thank you. You know, a city without art and culture is not really a mature city, but we're approaching that rather rapidly. So there are so many adults and young people in town that make us a very special community. They have so many talents, and it's in such a variety of the cultural areas that we need to make Pearland that special city that we all say we're going to be eventually. We're getting there pretty close now, but we're not talking about the adult part of it. We're talking about the youth in our community. So let me present to you a proclamation of the Office of the Mayor, City of Pearland. Whereas Youth Art Month has been observed throughout Texas and nationally since 1961, and contributes educational benefits to all elementary, middle, and secondary students. And whereas art education develops students' creative and problem-solving and critical thinking abilities and teaches sensitivity to beauty, order, and other expressive qualities. And whereas art education gives students a deeper understanding of multicultural values and beliefs, and art education reinforces and brings to life what students learn in other subjects. And now how it interacts with other students' areas, such as learning in art production, art history, art criticism, and aesthetics. Now therefore, I, Tom Reed, by the power vested in me as the mayor of this fine city of Pearland, Texas, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2018 as Youth Art Month in Pearland, and I ask all citizens, both near and far, to join with me in supporting art teachers as they attempt to strengthen the art education in their schools and communities, and give full support to quality school art programs for our children and our youth. And our youth usually grow up to be adults, and they'll bring that with them, so that is wonderful. This is given on my hand and seal of office this 6th day of March, 2018. With a great deal of pleasure, I sign that as your Mayor, Tom Reed. And thank you for being here to receive this.
Thank you. Thank you to Ms. Torres French and Mayor Reed.
We have a great city. You're the citizens that make it happen. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, we're pleased to recognize Pearland ISD's talented musicians and vocalists who earned seats in region, area, and state band and choir. To begin the night, to introduce her students is Dawson Choir Director Roxana Silva.
The following students earned spots in this year's TMEA All-State Choirs: Jaden Campos, Leah Flynn, Aaron McSpadden, Zachary Nelson, Josna Sajan, Kara Samuelson, and John Silva. Dawson High School band teacher Nathan Cornada is here to introduce the Dawson students who made area and all-state band.
Good evening. These are the students who made the all-area band. Nicole Wen, Mayank Soche, and Jessica Williams. And the following students are students who made the all-state band. And these are Tabitha Donnelly, Mackenzie Hart, and Alexander Lima.
Next tonight, to introduce his students from Pearland High School, choir director Michael Kessler.
Good evening. Please join me in congratulating the following students from Pearland High School for making the Texas All-State Choir. Madison Jackson and Natalia Leslie.
Also with us this evening, Pearland High School band director Joe Munoz and Gino Hernandez will introduce their area and all-state students.
Our area band members, Hannah Armstrong, Aaron Bovey, Jim Caldwell, Reese Dawson, Cheyenne Howes, Nicholas Kirchneck, Ross Lowry, Dylan No, Jacob Rawls, Nicholas Scruggs, and Deja Watts. The all-state students that you've seen recognized this evening make up the top 2.5% of all music students in the state of Texas. They truly are the best of the very best. Our all-state students, Nicholas Hernandez, two-year all-stater Zoe Reiser, and three-year all-stater Zachary Scruggs.
Barry Miller choir director Jeanette Peterson will introduce her region choir students.
Students who made region choir include Zakai Campos, Hannah Forney, Valerie Jimenez, Sierra Mellis, Cole Ripple, Haley Sauls, Anna Speaker, and Alex Tran.
Here tonight to introduce the Barry Miller Junior High band students are Christopher Bennett, Heather Massey, and Blake Lean.
Good evening. Please join me in congratulating the following students that made Region Band. Ian Alvarez, Peter Asif, Emma Balsamo, Theodore Bow, Sophia Bass, Joshua Benjamin, Edgar Chow, Evan Cole, Benjamin Cummings, Edgar Espitia, Jeremy Gillespie, Clark Gomez, Miguel Gonzalez, Hudson Hart, Eaton Hinojosa, Ava Kutach, Allison Liu, Vincent Mai, Eileen Marzon, Nathan McCormick, Riley Mellon, Natalia Monroy, Baron New, Andrew Norris, Kevin Wren, Tessa Schertz, Hannah Shea, Sarah Shea, Savannah Sparks, Stephen Wong, Preston Weinheimer, and Rachel Zoe.
From Pearland Junior High East, Choir Director Emily Boudreau will now introduce her Region Choir students.
Students who made Region Choir include Sadie Andrade, Lila Anthony, Ryan Basso, Alex Bryan, Kelly Decker, Nicole Dominguez, Millie Enan, Carly Polk, Samantha Quezada, Fernanda Razo, Morgan Rushing, Nicoletta Savage, and Alex Schmidt.
Jason Hargrave, Band Director at Pearland Junior High East, will now introduce his Region Band students.
Students who made Region Band include Zoe Atkinson, who also made Region Orchestra, Giovanni Anaya, Blake Bryan, who also made Region Orchestra, Eldon DeGay, Adriana Drescher, Brandon Ellis, Nick Farver, Chris Gattal, Madison Johnson, Simeon Love, Alessandra Murray, Katie Norton, Giselle Samuels, Wyatt Selders, Ella Shimmick, Alan Tejeda, and Trevor Topolsky.
With us tonight to introduce her students from Pearland Junior High South is Choir Director Rosetta Ames.
The students who made Region Choir include Juggin Arasu, Lynette Buck, Ian Fletcher, Juliana Hefes, Alexandria Guzman, Eli Moffitt, Sydney Olivier, Lizette Sillis, Charlize Tatum, and Jada Tatum.
Next up, Pearland Junior High South Band Director Brandon Linder will introduce his students who made Region Band.
Okay, first up, Braden Bell, Aurora Devlin, Elizabeth Freeland, Rebecca Gaw, Clark Kansing, Loanne Mason, Alex Riley, Jared Schwartz, Cameron Short, Katie Tyndall, Nicholas Vocal, and Thomas Vo.
Next, Pearland Junior High West Choir Director Jenny Blazik will introduce her Region Choir students.
Olivia Bursnell, Kennedy Crawford, Rishab Dave, Aiden Demon, Savannah Demas, Lazia Allenkill, Kelly Greer, Joseph Guzman, Angela Hill, Faith Hunt, Taylor Jackson, Nalani Johnson, Andrea Collin, Connor Canista, Ankita Lave, Pilar Lopez, Olivia Martinez, Alex Milton, Olivia Moeller, Tamiwa Oyewale. I think I said that right. And Raina Q.
And to round out our band and choir recognition this evening, with us we have Junior High West band directors Meredith Bishop, Jessica Steiner, and Curtis Amrine.
Students who made the Region Band include Ahmad Akar, Timmy Adebayo, Noor Ahmed, Jared Byers, Elaine Chang, Jackson Coate, Peyton Coate, Lance Connor, Casey Cook, Noel Delita, Zachary Ellerbrock, Grace Elliott, Betsy Espinal, Philip Espinal, Louis Espinoza, Tia Evans, Aiden Garcia, Joseph Gonzalez, Andy Gu, Will Gundlock, Stefan Gutierrez, Badisha Halder, Isabella Haskins, Anthony Hildebrand, Andy Jang, Cordelia Lee, Cameron Love Adams, Jaden Liu, Amber Luo, Andrew Macias, Ethan Wynn, Vin Pham, Anna Fan, Josiah Sanchez, Emily Shee, Shiley Soche, Kevin Song, Camille Stevens, Melody Tran, Annie Vu, Casey Winter, Aaron Wu, Jamie Yanga, Andrew Zemer, and Harrison Zhu.
Next up, we are going to recognize a tremendous achievement in our district. The Pearland ISD Quiz Bowl is a challenging district competition which builds capacity and interest for academic decathlon among our intermediate students. For the first time in district Quiz Bowl history, there was a three-way tie for the opportunity to earn the bragging rights as grand champions. So I guess we have tri-champs this year. First, we have Rogers Middle School coaches Kim Long and Tracy Belton, to introduce their team.
Ella Chisholm, Timothy Chow, Caroline Chokey, Michael Christner, Caleb Dean, Hillary Den, Sophia Fan, Christian Garcia, Evan Horvath, Elizabeth Yu, Hantao Jin, Philip Koshi, Jack Liu, Annalise Martinez, Matthew New, Jonathan New, Avnish Sikharan, Madhura Sriram, Tanush Thiranagari, Elise Turano, Yifan Wang, and Clay Wayne.
I was like, y'all should know. All right, Miss Tipton. All right, our next tri-champion team from Sablatur Middle School. The coaches are Joanne Boyd, Cassandra Maldonado, and Christy Vanderwoody. Please introduce your team for us.
Samuel Brady, Philip Chambers, Abigail Days, Amy Decker, Kessler Doe, Jackson Fricking, Aurella He, Haley Holmes, Riley Jackson, JP Jewell, Annika Joby, Sasha Kuzmenko, Christopher Lopez, Mark Liu, Kyle Mandola, Ava Mayhew, Ethan Montez, Mina Mutharaman, Sophie Wynn, Ivy Wynn, Nandini Nukali, Tadawa Oyawole, Van Pham, Annika Fan, Jonathan Robin, Sean Santosh, Layla Scott, Annabelle Tang, Daniel Tran, Vincent Vereen, Wende Wang, Bowen Shi, and Melinda Yao.
And last but certainly not least, by any means, our third tri-championship team from Pearland Junior High West, Coach Ashley Hill will introduce her team.
Sophie Adams, Geneva Klein, Lance Connor, Rashab DeVay, Tia Evans, Courtney Frick, Olivia Hamilton, Mihir Kavakava, Matthew Lee, Jacqueline Mandola, Jones Mays, Zunara Mirza, Aruna Muthapale, Vin Pham, Raina Q, Tanmai Savargakar, Sava Scott, Ria Sinha, Tegan Tien, Melody Tran, Diana Turnstall, Annie Vu, Harrison Zhu.
Yeah, wait, we got one more thing happening here. Hold on. And to round out our recognition, and certainly not last in our book, the Pearland ISD Food Services Department was awarded Best of the Bunch Award by the Texas Agricultural Commissioner Sid Miller for achievement in the Texas Department of Agricultural 2017 Local Products Challenge. Every October, the Local Products Challenge encourages school nutrition teams to incorporate more Texas products into meals and teach children about healthy lifestyles and Texas agriculture. Pearland ISD earned the award by meeting the highest standard of this challenge. Nearly 180 school districts participated in the 2017 Local Products Challenge, and less than 10% of school districts earned this state distinction. Here to be recognized for this award are Director of Food Services, Dorothy Simpson, and Assistant Director, Sherry Shields. Get over this way, Sherry. 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 This concludes our recognition this evening.
Okay, board. We are moving on to the consent agenda. Jeff. Okay. Is there a motion on the table? Or is there anything that needs to be pulled?
I'm lost. Hold on. Let me get it myself.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the consent agenda items as presented.
Okay. So I have a motion made by Ms. Beegler and a second by Mr. Botkin. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries 7-4, 0 against. All right, so we're gonna go on to regular agenda number 1, B1.
Madam President, members of the board, the item is considered to approve the schematic design for the athletic portions of the Pearland High School 2016 bond project. I think we originally came to you with much of this at the November 28th meeting, and you gave us some advice, but asked us to come back and give you some alternatives. And so we're ready to do that. Mr. Tillis, B1, right? Am I right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Dr. Kelly's exactly right. So we're here tonight to talk about the facade around the bleachers and the expanded press box. So we'll let PBK go through that presentation again.
Thanks, Don. Thanks for having us back. Real big thank you for putting us before the calendar discussion. As disappointing it is that HBO did not stick around for my speech, we'll carry on. So, as you remember, almost all of the construction items in terms of number of projects are already approved. We are proceeding with the construction as a part of the main Pearland project. We have taken out the items shown here that are the locker room renovation, the press box renovation and expansion, the adding of the seats, and a concession stand renovation, and creating our own, what we're calling a rig project. And so what we'd like to talk to you all about tonight is a couple of options for that specific project. It does not include the softball bleachers, they are already approved. It does not include the baseball bleachers, they are also already approved. And so what we'd like to do is, at the latest, bring you back a subsequent GMP. It's already in the total project cost that Don and John have shown you, but it will be a subsequent addendum to this project so that we can get started for the day of the last game, mobilizing and getting going so that we have every shot, weather permitting, of being ready for football season the next year. Ideally, I can push my team and we can bring that GMP before September, but that right now is what we're targeting. So, in the bond scope, this is the existing plan, and the bond scope is to slightly expand the existing and do a renovation of the existing. And so you see here the elevator is proud of the main press box. It is actually over the bleachers. And so this blue area here is outside and directly connected to the bleachers themselves. On the first floor, there's a lobby for the elevator, and that's where our mechanical is. And so this is our artistic rendering of how your rig looks in the current state. Completely exposed iron structure. Here's that elevator building going up to the second floor and to the third floor of the press box by stairs. And so this is kind of how it looks from the field. Now, knowing that most of the press box is over the bleachers, the schematic design that we came up with to expand the press box to give the coaches what they want puts a lot of the service into this back corridor here. And so all of that is built past the bleachers where that walkway is. And so we're not actually having to get into the guts of the bleachers themselves. We feel like this is the most economical way to get you additional bathrooms, to get you additional kitchen, to get the additional stairs that will be required whenever we expand the square footage. And then on the second floor, we're gonna take in what is now exterior square footage that a mechanical unit is sitting on and expand the second floor to be clock and PA announcer. The film deck that is existing will remain. And so you can see on the elevations, this is the area that's coming back past the structure that we'll be adding on. And then this is where that niche was that we'll be adding, finishing off.
Can you go back one slide?
Absolutely.
That doesn't, no, one more, forward. That doesn't have the stairwells in it, does it, the rendering?
So the stairwells will exit, like they're literally right here.
Okay, just those two. All
They
right.
will not go all the way to the ground. We have the exiting capacity down the bleachers.
Right, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Otherwise, everyone will take the elevator down.
Right.
Any other questions? Also part of the bond scope, we will be, when we add on to the bleachers, right now you have a multi ways of getting in. We're gonna look to consolidate the entry, make it easier for people to get there, to check their tickets and control the perimeter of the facility. So, the expanded 6,000 square foot press box, you can see this red line here. This is your existing one. This is not the bond scope. This is literally the existing line of the press box as it stands. And so you can see here, the kitchen gets bigger. We get a janitor's closet. The video room gets larger. The press room gets larger. The community room gets a little larger. the amount of spaces we're adding into the expanded plan is not really that many spaces. There's an MDF and IDF. It's just that the spaces that are desired get bigger, and then we provide some more outdoor deck space, which we're doing in a lot of press boxes these days, Lance.
Inside, where it says video, is that?
That is running your scoreboard?
Is that the kids that runs the
Yes,
scoreboard?
that's the kids that run your
Expanded
scoreboard.
space
Yes,
for
sir.
them?
So they'll have an expanded space in either plan. It's just obviously in the larger plan, they have a larger space.
Instead of being behind in the corner. and
No
like-
matter what, they will no longer be behind in the corner. In the enlarged plan, or in the bond scope plan, you can see that they get a space, so they are no longer under the corner. But you can see it's just not as big
I got you.
as what we would do if we had the 6,000 square feet, which you can see here.
Mr. Pardo, how many kids I mean, I know they do it at different events, but how many kids are involved in that video production?
There's usually about 8 to 10 kids at the production that night. 4 or 5 of those kids are out on the field, and probably 3 or 4 of those kids up in the box with a video man technician.
Yeah, and that's,
5 or 6.
that's it, we use that video productions on, I have that at all 3 campuses, is that correct? And
The video production team is yes, a combination of all 3 campuses.
Yeah, but I mean, we have video productions on each one of our campuses,
Yes, sir.
is that correct? Okay. It's a compilation, kids come and they get real world experience from video, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And so you can see here, with the expanded plan, now we are getting into what I'm calling the bleacher area. And so we will have to coordinate with the bleacher manufacturer, redesign a whole bunch of steel underneath the existing bleachers. And so that's why we feel there's a little bit of a cost premium above and beyond just a straight dollar for dollar square foot addition, because we will have to be getting into that existing structure. It makes it more complicated. So here's how that large press box looks. So then the final thing we discussed was adding a facade and rain treatment underneath the bleachers to create a dry space and kind of capture the home facade. And so it's important to remember, you can do the home facade and not expand the press box at all. It is completely separate from the structure. We could do just that and nothing else. We've designed it that way so that, because we felt like there was no impetus for doing a completely new everything. And so this design right here, we can do with right now alone, we could do it with the bond scope, or we could do it with the expanded press box. And so this would be on the home side.
What is the cost of just the facade? Is
2.4
that
to
it?
3.
So on top of with the expansion is $3 million and this is $3 million, so it's $6 million?
About 6.
About $6 million.
6 to 6.4.
Yeah.
For both.
But you don't have to do the expansion, you can still
Right,
do
I
the
got you.
facade.
You
so-
do not have to do, very
Right,
crucial,
no,
you do
I'm-
not have to expand the press box. You do not have to do alternate 1 to do home side facade concept. We could do the bond scope on the press box and give you the facade. They're completely unrelated. We could also do the press box and then come back 3 years from now and do the facade. They are completely unrelated.
Could you do it vice versa?
No. Because once I build that facade, now you're gonna ask my contractor to build all that stuff with that facade there.
Right.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
Oh, for a lot more money, it could happen.
You're right, for a lot more, for more than I think you're willing to pay.
It's just gonna
You're right,
cost a lot
anything is
more money.
possible. I think it's gonna be more than you're willing to pay.
Okay.
I don't know if, like, you can't tell, but the facade doesn't support any of that press box, correct?
Not one
Space.
bit. It is completely separate. It has its
Like a
own
wall.
structure.
What is that made out of? Like, what do you think, it's brick?
Beautiful wall.
So what we're showing here, there's some metal panel, there's some plaster, there's some cast stone, there's some brick, there's some exposed architectural metal, Avidec canopies, graphics.
What was the original price of just of the original renovation of the first plan of the rig?
Just what's in bond
The
scope
bond
right
scope,
now
yes.
is approximately $4 million.
Just for those pieces we're talking about, not
For-
all renovations.
Right, so the 4 million for just the expansion, all that. Okay,
If I recall correctly, it's about $4 million.
and then to do expansion number 1 and the facade, we're looking at $10 million just for the rig?
Total.
Questions, board, comments?
Yeah, I'm doing some thinking and figuring.
The amount of money that we are under right now projected is, if you know off the top of your head.
For the total bond?
Total bond.
No, just for Pearland. Can't look at it on a total bond basis. You have to look at it on a per project basis.
You couldn't reallocate those funds? You could not?
Yes, you could.
Okay, so first just Pearland and then total bond.
For Pearland, we
We're
are
over.
Over by 3.4.
Pearland High School is over about 3 million. The overall bond is 14 to 15 million under.
Right.
Including the 3 million overage? Correct. Okay, so including the 3 million overage that we are currently looking at for Pearland High School, the total bond package is still $14 to $15 million under total bond value of what we sold the bond, or what the voters voted to spend.
The other thing I noted that is related, as I did some calculations, is that the ones that we don't have a GMP on, which are basically some aspects of junior high west, junior high east, the elementary schools, and the security thing, we have about 47 million out of the 220 that is not yet GMP'd. The rest is.
And we just got the junior high east
Okay.
numbers, and we're close. So that was
Close over,
close to
under?
being on budget, plus or minus, but we're still looking at the numbers. But that's good news that
Yeah.
that project's not going to go over. And that's
What about
another.
what about the other projects? You
Well,
have a
the
feel
other
for that?
ones, we still don't, it's still just an estimate at this time.
We don't know.
But my point is, for what it's worth, more than 75% of the cost is now known and locked in.
And you don't expect that extra 25% to be
Yeah.
an anomaly for, something to happen and it be extremely over?
No, there's no.
No indication.
It's, no indication.
Well, the important thing to remember on that is, Phil and I were talking, we think y'all got a great deal on Pearland High School. It was over budget, but you're getting so much for your money. Stewart Builders got you a great price for that project. We added 5,000 square feet of corridors to connect the buildings that weren't budgeted 1 cent. We got three new practice fields. We separated a locker room from the main building to provide access back and forth for all of the athletes. We did, you see all that list. We thought we were gonna be over by more than 3 million because of all of the scope that was added. Literally every single small little project, we added scope all along the way. At the end of the day, I think y'all got a deal on Pearland High School for as much as we're gonna be able to do on that campus to improve it. We're gonna do the facade, which wasn't budgeted at all, and that's in the 3 million. I think you got a deal.
And the auditorium added a fair amount to, that wasn't really captured in the bond scope.
But, okay, so look from a taxpayer perspective, I'm looking at it from, we went out and had 52 information sessions on what our bond was gonna be. 52. Dr. Kelly did it, Rebecca did it, I didn't, I did a couple. Point is now we're circling back to say, oh, by the way, we missed a few things, right? I get that, a few things, but we missed 3 pages of things, right? That are pretty high ticket items, right? We may have gotten a good deal, but at the end of the day, the numbers don't look like a good deal. And I look at it from a project basis, right? And I have a hard time robbing Peter to pay Paul to say, and then now junior high east is looking looking like it may be right on or a little bit over. I personally, I like all the ideas. I think y'all did a great job with all these renderings for the rig. I personally like the idea of just moving forward with the current bond scope, and then circling back at the end of the project, at the end of the bond, and saying, okay, let's do this. Can we do it? And maybe not this coming year, but the following year, do the big bad wall. But I like the wall. I think it really looked good.
Mike?
The facade, when that construction, it would to create both the facade of the expansion, right? If we did it separately, would that cut into the football season for the next term, or we just? How long is the facade alone? How long would that take?
That's definitely a disadvantage. So, when doing it again, you're probably going to look at if we do them together, you're going to shut down the rig for one period of time. If we do them separately,
2%.
Exactly. And so you have the advantage that they'll probably be able to structure it to where you can access that press box through, and so have some kind of access to it, but it will not be a fully functional facility, probably from that same November through that school year to
Right, but
to
if we
build the wall.
did them both at the same time, expansion expansion be done first and then completed, and then facade put up?
No, they'll probably do it at the same time.
Same time.
Because they'll get the steel erector on site, and
So
it'll all
then
just start
it'll
going
be
up.
ready to go. What is
That's
it?
right.
Football season of 19. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing, guys, that I meant to bring into this, and I've forgotten, is remember that we have the Bond Advisory Committee, and they also analyzed this some time back, and so I asked if we could have a representative from the Bond Advisory Committee to share the perspective of that committee, and Mr. Richter is here, who fulfills every job in the entire school district, and now he's the representative for the Bond Advisory Committee. And Bob, if you would kind of give the flavor that you got from the Bond Advisory Committee.
Well, Mr. Ricker, can I ask first, has the committee met since we saw these renderings and then know that we were going to be discussing this tonight?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Just as a summary, the Oversight Committee was formed to make sure that the projects promised to the citizens of Pearland would be done. And that's what our Oversight Committee is charged with. There were certain things that were outlined for the rig. More parking, more seating on the visitor side, expanding the press box, backs on the seats in the reserve section, and work on the dressing rooms at the rig. The facade was never part of the discussion.
Okay, so in general, though, does just say it's not even say if it's not the rig, any additional, so is there a recommendation to not spend any additional money on any additional projects that would be needed in the district to do with renovations? Or is it just a rig that there's an opposition to, or not an opposition to? I mean, you didn't really say there was an opposition to spending additional bond money if there is, or is that what you're saying?
Let's just say this, I'm unaware of these, when we talk about additional projects at different schools, I'm not sure if I know of the expanded scope.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess in general that, even like Jeff is saying, okay, even if you got to the end and there was additional bond money left and we did decide to use that money for any additional projects throughout the district on any campus or any facility, is that, I mean, I'm just trying to get the overview feel of what they're saying. So we've had leftover bond money in the past. We have spent that on additional renovations as time's gone on for things that were needed in the district. We're still in the middle of a bond project, and it looks to have a pretty good projection of a good amount of savings that we could spend on some additional items that need to be taken care of in our district. So is it in your opinion that the bond committee, oversight committee, is opposed or in favor of doing any additional projects with any additional money that's left over from the bond that doesn't get spent?
Let me just say this, from my own perspective, if it is campus-based and for the betterment of a campus, such as technology, I don't have a problem with it.
I don't know who can answer this, Mr. Pardo or Mr. Wells. What year was the rig built?
It opened in
2001.
2001, when it was built? And probably Mr. Wells or somebody can answer this. How much money's been spent on the structure or any additional, anything on the rig for any renovation at all since 2001? Can you remember anything that's been done to the rig?
The scoreboard, there was additional fencing, and I may be speaking
Yeah.
in terms.
No, go ahead, whoever's got the answer.
The scoreboard, there was additional fencing, there was some work done underneath the stands,
Uh-huh.
additional paving that was done.
Artificial turf.
Minus the turf, because it's got to be replaced every 10 years, but the structure or anything, any additional in 17 years? Is my math right? Okay. What's that? Yeah.
And then the scoreboard we currently have now, the district did not pay for. It was funded by outside money.
That's correct.
That we got a sponsorship through Memorial Hermann
And-
Hospital. So that didn't cost the district any money.
And the additional facade that we're adding to Pearland High School to make it look like we're making it look better, I guess, if you will, that's additional money, correct? To build that facade?
At Pearland High School.
Pearland High School, correct?
At the high school?
Yes.
Yes,
Pearland
it
High
was,
School,
it was
the front
additional.
of the school?
It was additional money.
Th-
It's part
so-
of it's part of the overage.
Exactly, so the taxpayers and that know that, hey, we're actually doing something instead of putting some paint on the walls and, not getting the wow factor as somebody used so eloquently before about another project. Okay, thank you.
I wanted to add on to his last point, Lance. We did the facade at Pearland High School so that the community would know.
That's correct.
We're actually getting stuff done. And I think, from my own personal opinion, that it's even more important at the rig than it was at the high school. I don't know how many thousands of people in our community come to the rig every year for football games, for band competitions, for dancing competitions, for soccer games. I know the elementary schools
July
and middle
4th
schools use it
celebration.
for, I'm getting to that.
Oh, sorry.
They use it for their track
Track
meets.
day.
And then you have the July 4th. I'm not too sure if we do a New Year's Eve one at the rig. But regardless, I mean, it's like the hub of our community, especially athletic and community events. So, I mean, when you look at the existing structure of the rig, I know it served its purpose and it's done a great job at that. But it looks old. It looks like a skeleton structure, like we are a second tier, third tier district, and we're not. And I know that visuals aren't everything, but they're very important.
They're very important.
They're very important. So that's why I'm personally on board with the facade, the expansion. Beyond bond scope, I'll have to be convinced of otherwise. But I think the facade is incredibly important for the overall vibe of the community.
I don't think that I said that I was against it. I think that I said that
I didn't mean to
I
say
would prefer to fulfill our obligation defined by the current bond scope. And then if we had additional projects that we wanted to do, and I think we all, for those of us that were on the board, we had that very conversation about other projects.
Do we, do
so-
we know when you're gonna have the rest of the GMPs? What's the timeline on those?
The next one will be in April. We'll have Junior High East and the security project, and after that, the only one that'll be remaining are the elementaries. So in April, we'll be on probably 85 to 90% cost known. The last 10% or so is not for I guess, another year or so, 6 months to a year, because we haven't started the elementaries. We've just been phasing that afterwards.
Jeff, would you be okay with 90% of it done?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be,
I don't think we can wait.
relatively
We have
okay
to
with
make
it.
a
I mean, I
decision.
would prefer to have that conversation when it comes up, but I really do like the idea of actually having a nice looking, aesthetically
I mean, I
pleasing
think we all
rig.
do, but
I really do. But I prefer, once again, just to fulfill the obligation of the bond projects as we stipulated in the list of, I think, 35 projects. And then Jeff even mentioned that we can circle back at this project. It doesn't have to be done at the same time. Is it going to be inconvenient? Absolutely. But can it get done within the scope of this bond project, these bond funds, if we have the additional funds? Right now, I would say yes. But I would really like to get more progress done on the existing bond projects. I'd like to get the security stuff out in case we decide we wanted to add additional security to the schools. I'd really like to do that because we don't really know. We have a really good understanding of what we think they are today, but maybe there are some new things that have come up within the community and the nation that are forcing us to do other things. The IT is moving along at, as fast as they can actually move on. I mean, IT takes a long time to integrate across the district this size. And I think they're at 6 million. But when you stagger that out over a long period of time, costs increase and outside of our control. So that's
I was
all
going to ask
my
Mr.
concern.
Richter, can I ask one more question, statement question? Since you served on the Bond Oversight Committee and you were part of this, can you tell me when you guys did the rankings for this, among the 34 projects, where did this particular project rank among the
36th.
Okay. Can you tell me where the security and vestibules ranked?
Top 3.
So again, I think we have an obligation at some point
Technology was number 1.
to
We're covering that, I'm pretty sure.
yeah.
Well,
But to Jeff's point, I think you do have to consider either bringing this back, the facade, at some point, looking at what money you have, or again, do you reallocate funds towards security? It's a valid point.
Well, I don't think we're not changing the scope and doing anything less than we've already promised the taxpayers. We are, in some cases, doing more things on other projects, and I'm sure security, it's, there's things being discussed that can't be discussed in public, but there's things that administration is always working on as far as security goes behind the scenes on things to improve, that we can do better. But as far as security goes, there is a lot of outlined very good things that we have approved in the bond that will be done. And we're not looking to change or do anything less on the security front or any other front that we've promised the taxpayers. But in the big picture of it, when you're doing work and you're doing a construction job on a job site, and if you want to change something, in my opinion, the time is to change it while you're on that job site doing the work. If you have to, it's not just an inconvenience factor, the price will probably be different too. So if it's something you really think that we want to do for the improvement of our district, it probably should be, best time to do it is going to be when you're already there doing the other renovations that are going to be going on, my personal opinion. So
I would agree with that, because if we're doing like a construction piece, but this is a unique situation in that the wall is completely independent of the structure itself. And
sure, but the rig has to be reclosed again, and all the factors of who use it and when it's available, and closing it down for our school district, for our public, for our city, and everything
Sure.
that goes on with it will come into account as well.
I understand.
So are you okay with I guess the question comes down to is, again, are you saying you're okay with the original bond scope?
Well, I don't think we're looking to do less than we already promised, is what I'm
Right.
saying. I was good with the original bond scope, but with the ability to do, would I love to do the maximum? I would really like to do the big picture of the first one they brought us with like 9,000 square feet, but I mean, it's unrealistic. I mean, it's completely unrealistic. I'm not, But if we're going to add the facade, I believe now would be the time to approve it, to do it along with the other scope of the work that's gonna be being done at the rig. And it's, I mean, the bond scope, with the additional, 2,000 square feet that it's adding, it's a big difference. Is it to current standard of what's going on around us? Absolutely not. It's not. So I'm just gonna
Below.
be perfectly clear there. So,
Way below.
it's not, what?
I said it's way below.
It's still way below. So, I mean, yes, it's great. It's 2,000 square feet bigger than what we currently have, but is it what's going on around us and what other districts are doing around the state and just in our area? No, it's below par. It's
So-
below the standard line.
So Alvin ISD, they're our neighbors to our south. They built a $50-something million brand new football stadium on 288, and they just redid their, I think it's about $12 million they spent on their old stadium to redo their press box, and to make that concrete stadium look aesthetically a heck of a lot better than it used to.
Jesus.
So, and then if you keep looking around, everybody else has already finished theirs. The district our size has already finished theirs or built in their stadium. We're the last of the multi-high school district to add anything to our rig since 2001, since it was built. Mr. Floyd brought up the same thing that I'll keep bringing up. It's the most used facility by our community more than anything else. And we got to take care of it, and we got to make the community proud of it. And that's what makes us good, keeps us good, and possibly moving us up to great. Or keeps us up somewhere along in the middle between good and great. Facilities, guys, if you build it one time, 2001 it was built. We ain't messed with it since. And I guess the biggest thing what Mr. Barry's saying is, it's not the right decision or the wrong decision. It's indecision that can hurt you. If you wait, it's going to cost you. In the end, we're going to be kicking ourselves going, God, dog, at the end, is it going to change our mind? No, it's indecision. So, either we do it or we don't. I mean, period.
Anybody else?
Is there a motion on this, or what are we looking
No,
at?
we haven't made a motion yet.
No, I'm saying, is there supposed to be a motion, or what do we have to approve tonight, or if anything?
There's supposed to be a motion.
Yes.
But,
I mean,
Charles, have you got
I would
some-
make a motion that we approve the bond scope as presented.
Which would just be
I don't think you quite said what you meant to say. you meant to say do the original bond scope? Okay. All right. I went down to Dickinson to go check out the facade down there at their stadium, and I like it, but it's not critical to me. The facade at Pearland High School was critical to me. The work we did in front of Carlston and Lawn was necessary because, well, I guess it wasn't necessary because we made new entrances at both of those schools, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, so the facade work was critical there, but in each of those cases, in neither of those cases, did we take the facade work all the way around the buildings, right? And so that's an issue, right, for me aesthetically. With the rig, when you're on 35 or when you're on Pearland Parkway, well, actually, when you're on 35, you'll see the wall, you'll see the facade, right? But when you're around on either side, you're still going to see the steel structure, right? And on the other side, if we do some work to the gates as well, you'll see, some brickwork at the bottom or whatever, but you're still going to see a steel structure, right? So my fear is that we're trying to turn the rig into a new stadium, and I don't think that's going to happen with the construction of the facade, right? That's point number one. Point number two that I'm struggling with is that I just think that if you talk about spending money on athletics, you get pushback, right? And I'm not comfortable with being bound by. I'm not comfortable with being bound by that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? Now, we talked about the multi-purpose facilities that we were going to, build, and we decided, no, that's above and beyond what we want to do. We're not going to do it, right? But I don't think there's anything you could say that you would do to the rig additionally that people would jump on board with, right? And unfortunately, I believe that's because it's just an athletic facility, right? And so here I am, right? Like, I think it would be a great ad. The wall down at Dickinson looked great, but I think we're kind of stuck because, if you spend extra money on that athletic facilities, or people think you're wasting money, right? So I'm having a hard time figuring out what is the right decision, right, for the long-time life of that facility and for the taxpayer dollars that we have to be steward over. So I'm here. I don't know if I said that very well, but that's what
Well, I just do want to make clear, I don't see it as just an athletic facility. It's more than that.
Well, see, that's
So-
the point I was trying to make. That's why I
Community
use the air
icon.
quotes, right? It's not just an athletic facility, right? But that's kind of the way athletics are seen, right? It's just athletics. This is a core part of the educational program, right? We use this to reach students, so it's not just an athletic facility.
Actually,
It's
one of the reasons why a lot of kids come to school.
So
Well, you could make the argument, a big argument about educational-based sports. I mean, sports complements everything that education stands for and gives those skills that are sports gives such a negative, everybody always says it's all about sports, extracurricular activities, just call it what it is, right? I mean, okay, if y'all are up early enough, why don't you roll out there at 5:30 in the morning and see who's under the lights working on their prancer,
Dance routines.
the dance routine.
So, but
But
we can achieve the entire program without the facade, right? What we do, right? We can.
We
It's
can
not.
move back to Presner too.
We can no.
I
Let's
go, let's go for it.
No. You took it too far. I'm talking about the dollars that we're talking about spending here, right?
We haven't done anything. We've done zero. The stadium cost us I don't know, maybe $6 million when we built it. We've been a good stewards of money. I mean, I don't understand we've done nothing to it. It's kind of embarrassing.
Is this picture?
We haven't done anything since then. We built a new
It's gonna be on
stadium.
both sides?
But look at what Mr. Richter
Or just
said.
on the
Listen,
visitor
hey,
hey,
side?
things change, Jeff. Things
visitor.
change. The bond committee, they do a great job, but things change.
I have a
And
question.
this got missed.
I have a question about. So this is not a wraparound
No, it's
facade.
not.
So
No,
the
it's just the
sides
front
are exposed.
and
If you
on the
want,
visitor side.
no, okay. Let's go back. It wraps the home side,
Right.
but on the visitor side, you have essentially this.
Right.
Which ties it in.
Unless you want to spend an additional.
No.
$30 million to do a facade on that side too, which is not gonna
No.
happen.
They're the visitors.
But this
We're-
right here
Well,
is.
we'll
in
make it a
this
visitor
right
version.
here is part of the bond scope.
Yes, that's part of
Yes.
the bond scope.
Visitor side.
That's the visitor side.
And nothing to the
Because
home
we
side.
have to move the ticket box because of where it is. It will now be like buried under bleachers. And so we have to bring it out to where the front of the visitor side will be. And then when we do that, we'll fence it all in to create a nice, this is where you enter.
Where the ticket box is right now for the rig, for the home side, it's not very, centralized. It's off at a corner. And so when you do the facade, you move the ticket booth to the center.
Absolutely.
Where there's multiple lines, easily taken care of by the athletic department, easily maintained and controlled, where most ticket places are taken care of in the center of the stadium at home side. If you ever been to a football or any kind of stadium for that matter. I mean, this cracks me up.
Your thoughts?
I mean, I see both points, and I struggle go with both? How far on the sides does the facade go? And so if you're looking at it like from Boiler Drive?
We're gonna try to cover up as much of that existing bleacher structure as possible. That's the whole point of the facade. So,
On the north and south sides as well?
right, but we also have to maintain access to the bleachers themselves.
Mhm.
And so there's a certain point where we stop the wall to allow the ramps and stairs and everything to do their work.
I mean, I just struggle with the overall end result look and feel, right? I don't think it's going to look, feel new stadium.
So, I mean, what's your solution? I mean, I would love to build a new stadium, but that got thrown out the window.
This is not a problem. We don't have a problem.
Yes, we do.
No,
We haven't changed anything since 2001.
We don't have a problem, right? And I'm talking about specifically about the facade, right? Not about what else we have planned around there. Not even really so much about the press box, right? Because I completely get the expanded press box, right? I'm talking specifically about the facade.
Listen, how do you justify the facade in front of Pearland High School?
Well, just because of what I said earlier, I thought it was critical to the overall look and feel of that project.
So John, this is not. You don't think this? What are your opinions on this? Being the principal of Pearland High School.
All right, Mr. Palumbo, you fixed the calendar last week or last meeting.
I did not add 5 minutes. I'll just say that. I'm a big believer, especially in this day and age. Parents are shopping, and they're looking around. And if I'm an athlete or I'm a parent of an athlete, I'm shopping, and this is something that they sometimes look at. I think if we're going to keep up with our surrounding districts, I think it's something we got to consider. I know it's a tough decision. I would say definitely the expansion of the press box, even with what the bond scope has, is probably critical because we just don't have the space up there. I mean, y'all been up there. Yep. It's tight, not just for visitors, but visiting coaches that are scouting, or coaches that are there, or video teams and things of that nature. But I really believe, too, it makes it different in the culture of your campus. I think our kids would take pride in walking into the rig. I'm just a big believer in it. You know, if you look good, you feel good. Feel good, you do good. So it's just it's one of those things that I believe that it's something that it does make a difference in what happens inside of our four walls. You know, probably Larry Burr could attest to it in 2010 when they made that run. The culture on your campus and the discipline on your campus goes down, so the athletics makes a difference with regards to what's happening inside of the building. And so I would encourage you to give strong consideration, but I do understand that you've got some tough decisions to make with regards to that.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
I don't think that I'm saying anything differently than we said 2 years ago. In evaluating all the projects, we had 34, 35, and we came back and we said, look, if we have enough bond money left over, we'll reevaluate project 35, 36, 37, whatever those are. And I realized that working together and trying to get construction projects in sync at the same time while you have, you know, boots on the ground, work being done, it doesn't really affect the actual day-to-day utilization of that facility. But I'm just all for just sticking with our plan. We had a good plan. I think everybody agreed. So.
And it's not the fact that the taxpayers didn't want this. This just wasn't proposed, right? So this is brand new. Am I correct? The facade around the rig is brand new. It's a brand new consideration.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff and whoever, Mr. Good and Rebecca, Pam, and all y'all. What are you afraid of? If you pass it and we move forward, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid somebody's going to come back and say, "Oh, you made something look better"? Darn. I'm serious. I mean,
you want my real answer?
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of ever getting reelected. because that's not why I do this job. I do it because I know and I hope but what I see is best. And I make an evaluated decision. Am I a good steward of the money? Absolutely. We've been a phenomenal steward of the money for 17 years. We owe it to our community to give them something in return. We owe it to the icon of the city that we owe them something. I mean, if we do the press box, hey, that's great, but everything else looks like the same.
You want my answer to that question?
What's that?
I think the question is flawed, right? Because there's no what are you afraid of? There's what are you making a decision on? And here's why I went to Dickinson to go look at this, right? I went to go see, is it actually worth the money to build this thing? Do you really get the look and feel that you're looking for? Second is that we've got a bond program that we're not complete with, right? And that we're allocating additional dollars, underruns, on the fly, so to speak, right? So that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. My whole question, I mean, everything I'm trying to figure out in my head is about bang for the buck and stewardship. That's it, right? It's not about do I believe that the rig is important? Do I believe that athletics are important? That's not where I'm coming from, right? This is if we spend this money, do we really get what we think we're going to get?
Okay.
On the fence.
Let me bring back probably a sore subject, but let me bring back Dawson High School. Before any of us are on the board, they made a decision to build Dawson a certain size.
And now we're adding.
And we probably should have made it a little bigger, but instead, what happened?
True.
We are paying probably about 25 times more than we would originally. And so what I'm trying to show, and other people are, let's be proactive and have a proactive vision and not worry about, let's just move forward and let's get everything going. Be proactive on it.
Let's not worry about what? Let's not worry about the constraints that
if we're going to have money towards the very end and we may or may not be able to do it. Things change inside of a bond. You can go to any district in the state of Texas that's been through a bond and things change drastically. All of them. That's why they put us up here, us 7, to make that decision.
Let me ask you this.
Yep.
Do you think the additional money to build the facade is worth the money?
Absolutely. 100% without a doubt.
So, Mr. Good, when you went to Dickinson, and they have a similar structure that they put in?
It's much smaller, but it's a similar, yeah.
And so you didn't feel, could you imagine if that wasn't there, what it would have been like?
It'd look like the rig.
Right.
Right, straight up. It looked like the rig.
Like
right?
the rig.
And I don't know, did they build that stadium with the wall at the same time, or was it an add-on after?
As a part of their bond,
They built it.
they
built
did
the wall
exactly
with
what
the
y'all are
stadium?
doing.
Yes.
And they budgeted, and then they brought to their board an add-on price to do the wall too. But they had to design it completely separate because there was a good chance the board was going to vote it down.
Okay, so
they designed the wall completely separate. So it'd be basic. That's why we're using it as an example all along, because pretty much what we're proposing here.
Like I said, and that one it's a much smaller scale, and don't get me wrong, that wall looks nice, right? And but like I said, overall look and feel, I'm thinking about the other facades that we worked on the district that didn't go all the way around. And the reason why I didn't have a problem with working on the Pearland facade is because all around that building is the same exterior, right? When you deal with specifically, now when you deal with Carlson, there's the brown brick of the buildings, and then there's the additional the buildings that were built, the music and the gym, right? So it's like a bunch of different materials, right? So the one that with Pearland, the high school, I think that's going to look great, right? And so but I'm just saying, if you're standing over here, you won't be able to see the facade, and so if you're standing over there, you won't be able to see the facade either.
But you're going to be able to see renovations to it. You're going to be able to see that it's new, updated. You're going to be able to see all that. And you bring up Pearland High School, when on the original bond scope, it was just the front entrance, right? Until I will tell you, the person that said lipstick on a pig and windows on a car that's in the junkyard, that was me. That said, if we don't put a facade on the front, it's going to look like garbage. And sure enough, it would have, unless we added the facade. And much like this is what we're going to have. We're going to add a press box, and it's going to be like, oh, great. Here we go. Tinted windows on a car in the junkyard.
And I'm almost to the same thing, you know, with the, I mean,
But
so,
look, I
okay,
thi- I
but the
think,
thing is, the bottom line is that original bond scope, expanded press box, facade. If we use all the high ends of those, we're talking about a rig project that runs us $10.5 million. Right? Okay? And so
Originally, 3 million.
originally
About 4 million.
4 million. Originally 4 million. We took it from 4 to 6. We would take it from 4
Well, and
to
it's
10.
just for this piece. There's other projects going on too that are
Right.
additional money.
Well, I know. I'm talking about the actual.
Press box.
Yeah, you know, the press box being 3.4, the facade being 3. Then we're talking about 6.4 that we're adding on to it, right?
If you did both,
And
yes.
yeah, and so okay, and when I'm looking at the 15 million that we're currently under for the entire bond, those 10 million, rather the 6.4 is going to come out of that number.
Yeah, so you'd be
Correct.
estimated $9 million under, or $8.5 million under.
Quick question.
Still, for
on,
the whole
on, the
bond project.
on the facade, what is the, I don't know because I don't know materials or construction, any of that. I don't, what's a typical length of life on that?
Expectancy?
I mean,
Oh.
like if it's brick, I mean, like I know Dickens is all brick. I don't know.
A long time.
Okay.
I mean, there are no moving parts and pieces.
I got you.
All galvanized steel structure. I mean, it is. I mean, we're gonna build it to last. I mean, it'll outlast your press box
Will it
probably.
outlast the rig?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Probably.
I got you.
So
Vance, I want to address you real quick, just so you know. Back to Jeff's point, there was a plan. People approved this project in the bond. They approved a $220 million bond. If we save the taxpayers' money, then that's great. I think the question you ask is, who are you scared of? And I think there's no one that
I said what? I didn't say who. I said what.
What you're scared of, but it's a
philosophical.
Yeah, exactly. So, do some of us feel like the money should be spent here, or if you save 15 million right now, we're at capacity at Turner. We're letting kids in, turning kids away. So,
But Turner isn't his own school. It's a
okay,
school of choice.
but listen, but why not expand that where we can accept more kids? We had people in here tonight talking about at Sunrise Lakes. Why wouldn't we expand Barry Miller? It's a difference of where we want to spend that money, and if we're able to spend the money, because I support what the taxpayers approved in the bond, and I think that's a good plan. If there's money left over and we come back again, if I'm not mistaken, it was the same way that your elementary was expanded, is because there was money left over in the bond, right?
Yes.
And so I don't think there's a discussion whether or not it can be done at a later date. It's just you don't want it you don't want it not done right now. But it's possible that if it's approved in the bond scope the way it is, and there's $15 million left over, that it could be brought back to add this facade.
You're paying a lot more.
For a couple of years down the road to bring.
You don't know that. We don't know what the cost.
We don't know what the cost will be.
Well, it's not going down.
And you don't know that there's not going to be overrun. You can't say 100% certainty that there's not going to be overrun on some of these other projects.
That's right.
Correct?
That's correct.
Of course you can say that.
Okay. Well, right. So how can you
if I
how
add
can
one-
you approve spending
one thing that
how
we've
can
been-
you approve money that's being saved now, not knowing 100% if those other costs are going to be 100%?
So
force you to go to 100%.
So if I
Go
can
ahead.
add one thing.
Go ahead.
So we've been having a lot of talk. It was interesting. It just struck me that you brought up Principal Palumbo to speak about the rig. So philosophically, as just a non-resident of your district, an unbiased observer, I actually don't think the biggest winner in this is Pearland High School. It's Dawson. Because if you do the facade, it's really the only good way to brand it as a district stadium. And so we will figure out with your coaching staff how to make an Eagle's Nest at the rig so that it's a district stadium. If we just do the press box, yeah, we can put 2 logos up there, but it will be much harder to brand the entire thing as a district stadium. That's the one thing about the facade that's an opportunity that I don't think you get if you don't do the facade. that if you look at Clear Creek, they have branded it for all of their high schools. If you look at Alvin's new district stadium, they have branded it for all of their high schools with lights that they're able to turn on different colors for the Sharks or the Mavericks. And so just wanted to put that out there because we'd been talking about it all through this design process, and I just didn't hear any discussion on it, so I just wanted to enter it into the
Jeff,
record.
I don't think that anyone said that we didn't like the idea. I think that it's just it's a matter of some of us would like to see it done sooner than later, and I'm one of those that would prefer to see it done later. In fact, I would even go so far as to say if our community wants a new stadium, let's go and put a bond out there for a new stadium. I'm good with that. But right now we're dealing with a bond that we have a defined scope on, and we had other projects that we tabled because if we had extra money in our bond, we were going to address those. And that was part of what the bond committee came back to and said, well, this is number 35. And if all this other stuff happens and everything is good to go and we have money left over.
Oh, no, wait, no. This wasn't 35. This was not, this is changing.
We're talking about the total number of projects.
I know, but that was different. That's like building the sports facilities at each campus.
Jeff, I'm sorry, were you talking about a specific project
No.
being number 35?
I'm
Okay,
not.
you were just talking about generally speaking.
Generally
there were 35
speaking,
projects.
we had a number certain of projects that the community wanted us to go ahead and do. And we even had the discussion. If we have enough money left over, we're going to go do X. And I think that's still a good plan.
Yeah, I mean,
I think if interjecting, and I think the facade on Pearland High School was a great idea, and I was for that too. I mean, initially I wasn't for it. I mean, I can tell you, but I think it's a great idea. But to go ahead and interject this project at this level, that was $800,000. This is $3.5 million, right?
There's a change of
If we push it back, I mean, you have to come back
a year.
That's right. We'll be coming back in a year.
3%.
Inflation, you mean?
And I just think I look at it a little bit differently. I mean, I think it's like looking at changing, I'm not looking at it as an athletic facility for sure. I'm looking at it as a district facility and a community facility. But if we had just take Dawson, say we got into it and we decided we were going to change something at Dawson that it got missed, or you didn't like the way it was going to feel once the plans got drawn. It wasn't what you thought it was going to be, and we needed to change something. It was going to cost $1 million extra to $2 extra million. For example, Pearland High School. I mean, and we have to make a decision at the time for what's best at the time when you're doing the construction. You can't just leave out those projects at Pearland High School and not spend the additional money because it goes hand in hand with what they're already doing. So, well, this isn't going to work. Even though we thought it would work, it's not going to work in the grand scheme of things for the way they had drawn out for construction. So we had to make a decision to make those changes at Pearland High School to be able to make it be what we want in the end. And my biggest fear from the very beginning has been just bringing up the Dawson project is one for the original Dawson project. I think in Pearland we are always behind the curve. Always. I feel like we have been for decades. We build minimalistic. We build don't think too far into the future. And then a couple of years down the road, we're like, we need to add on here. We need to do this here. We need to add this here. And then we're back asking for more money to do stuff. So I think if we're going to do it, we should do it. I mean, we should do it now and just do it right.
If we're talking about expanding a school, what are we talking about as far as a per square foot?
Probably $150, $225, depending on what you're expanding.
Jeff, what is it? Jeff, you gotta.
You're in the 200.
You residential?
Yeah, 200. Okay.
I bet it's more than that.
Depends what you're doing, if it's science labs or class.
Yeah. Yes, sir. And then if you have to talk about exterior structure,
we were just talking, one option we may be able to do is we could carry this facade as a bid alternate. And so when we bring the GMP for the rig to you in 6 months, this could come as an alternate. By then, we bid out Junior High East, We bid out all the security. The only thing that would be remaining would be the elementaries. We would have a better handle on that. So that's something to consider.
Well, how
There's a couple of advantages to that. That's exactly what Dickinson did, by the way.
You
And
okay with that?
so number one, we would literally be able to plan much better to have the facade integrated with what we're gonna be doing when we expand, we gotta put a fire pump in the elevator lobby. And so it doesn't really affect us because they're separate. If we design them together and we can bring you that price is not a problem for us. And then we can work through that design process. The other thing is, by the time we get to next September, we'll have done a lot of work at Dawson. We'll have done a lot of work at Turner. We'll have done a lot of work. So we will feel a lot better with those contingencies and how those projects are progressing in terms of the amount of rain we've gotten, the amount of construction changes that have unforeseen conditions that we've hit. And so it's a really good option for you guys. If you can get us a direction on the press box tonight, we can bring you back the facade as an alternate. Then you'll get a true cost, not some pie in the sky range that we came up with that is probably a little high because we don't want to tell you something and then be low. And then you could evaluate it on a true cost and not.
and that wouldn't push back I mean, if we waited, it's not gonna push back.
So what would happen then is if you decided to decline the facade at that point,
Yeah.
we would shelve the drawings and then we would rebid it again the next year.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Repeat that, please. I'm sorry.
If we bring you back rig GMP and alternate one, a building facade in September, and you decide to decline the alternate, we will shelve the drawings
Of the
facade.
Of the facade. Okay.
We'll move forward with what you allocate
Okay,
when you
not the
approve the
whole
GMP
project. Okay.
for the press box. And then we will rebid just the facade the following year because you'll have additional general conditions, which is the cost of a contractor being on site longer. You'll have additional, the market will have changed. Who knows how many Trump tariffs we'll have in between now and then. Market conditions fluctuate. And so we won't be able to hold that price for a year to do that work.
Okay. I am. Mr. Tillis, you could have ended this 30 minutes ago. I'm very comfortable with that.
Yeah, me too.
Especially when you start talking about looking at real costs and having an idea of what's real firm on the other side. We're not going to get, there is a firm possibility that we come back in 6 months and we have the alternate in front of us with hard costs and we have this entire discussion again, right? That's entirely possible. But, yes, sir.
If you know right now, you just don't want to do the facade until all the other projects bid, we'd rather draw you the facade later so we can focus on what you were actually going to build. But if you'd like us to bring you the price in September, so you have a hard number, see the actual cost, you can get an update from these gentlemen on the total percentage of where we are on the bond, we're perfectly happy to do that for you as well.
So is it cheaper for you to architect the wall now? Is that what you're saying?
It'll be the same cost to you, whether I architect it now or architect it later. Because it's based on a percentage of construction.
Well, it'll be a little less if you don't do the facade.
Well, and
We're willing to do that.
And again, 6 months later, we know the junior high east, we know the security, all the pricing on that, and the only thing remaining is the elementary.
It's a lot of schools, a lot of elementaries. And there's a lot of places that can go sideways.
I am
And those are
prepared to.
small
Yeah.
gyms,
Yeah, I think it's a total of $20 million, so, with $14 million to the good, I feel pretty good that we have our hands on that.
With, yes, sir. With the caveat that I do think there are other projects that may not be anything that the Bond Oversight Committee considered that might be worthy of our consideration as a body if we have additional overruns. But I'm prepared to make a motion. And Jeff did make a motion, correct?
It was never seconded.
It was never second. Okay.
I didn't even hear the motion. What was the motion? I don't
He
remember
did
a
make one. He
motion.
said we were gonna make one.
No, he made it,
Oh.
but it wasn't seconded, so it died.
The bond scope, the original bond scope. Okay. My motion will be to move forward, and my motion will be to approve the rig package with alternate 1 to the press box and the facade as an alternate. To move forward with the alternate 1 to the press box, which is the larger press box, and move forward with the facade as an alternate.
Wait, of the press
No,
box.
you're going with the bond sequence.
The bond scope press
Bond,
box.
bond scope press box.
No,
No,
alternate
he's
1 to
adding-
the
he's
to the press
increasing it.
box.
He's talking about the expanded plan.
That alternate 1 to the press box is the, okay, let me withdraw all that. This is what I want to do. I want to move forward with everything that was in the rig project, right? But I want to go with the expanded press box.
Expanded plan.
6,000 square foot.
Right, and then I want to have the facade bid as an alternate. Now, I will formulate that now. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
The
it
way
does.
I said that? Okay.
So,
And so if I say rig scope or bond scope for the rig, everybody understands what that.
That would not be alternate 1. That would be.
And so I would add alternate 1, and then I would add the facade.
You would proceed with alternate 1 and the facade as an alternate.
So alternate 1 includes everything with the rig
But the-
with the larger press box. Correct. And then the facade is added by obviously the bid alternate. Okay.
Wait, so is the oversight committee comfortable then with spending these additional funds, which are not allocated in bond scope,
No,
to extend the press box?
they're not.
They're not. That's my interpretation. They're not. I mean, they're not comfortable with doing anything over and above bond scope.
Wait, so why would so what are the advantages of this? I mean, it looks like it's just way too expansive. I mean, in my opinion, I mean, versus you're comfortable spending an extra $3.4 million on unnecessary. Well, in my opinion, I mean, certain unnecessary items, but the consideration of the facade.
Did you just change your opinion on me? I'm a little confused.
No, I'm not on board.
You were never on board with
He
the
wasn't for the
You were never on board
Oh, on
with
the
the
press
press
box,
box.
I got you.
But you were on board with the facade.
The facade.
Right.
Okay. Well, I see the press box. Remember when I said that the facility for, the facade for Pearland High School was a critical piece, right? I really think the expanded press box is a critical piece. It wasn't in the original
agree.
bond. I mean, but I think that's a critical piece. And the reason why I'm saying that we can take the wall, because as an alternate, is because when we get down the line, we'll be more comfortable knowing what our actual costs are.
So what are the
and then we can make a
inconveniences
decision.
with the bond scope
Say it again?
press box? The inconveniences with the bond scope press box?
Let's go back to the
So the existing plan, you have one tiny stair, which once we expand, we'll no longer be able to have one exit down from the first to the second. You have a tiny visitive coaches room, and a tiny little scouts, and the sound booth is like in a closet. So when we expand to what we were calling bond scope, we now have our 2 stairs. We have a restroom on both floors. We have a little break area here for the second floor coaches. We have a full break area for the first floor. We have a room for your video crew. We have a room for the radio announcer. We have a room for the PA and a room for the clock, plus the home and the visitor. So especially on Pearland versus Dawson night, they have equal amount of space moving forward. When we expand beyond that, we get additional deck space on the second floor. The video room is larger. All the rooms just get a little larger. We get a janitor's closet. We get a bigger kitchen on the second floor. Community room is about the same size in both, just a little bigger in the second.
So go back to the bond scope, and then Charles, please.
And then what?
No, and then I mean the inconveniences with this compared to the extended alternate.
I know that the existing, or rather, my opinion is that the existing press box is very cramped, right? I know exactly what, let's just round this up to 5,000 square feet. I know exactly what 5,000 square feet is, and because that's the size of my office, right? So I understand all the stuff that's in here. This is, no, it's not. It's too big for us. Anyway, all the stuff that's in here, that's a nice expansion. If you go to the next, right, taking it up to 6,000, increasing the space, just increasing all the spaces, because there's a lot of functions and a lot of stuff that goes on up there, right? And not even dealing with just the people who are up there just to eat, right? I'm talking about the people who are up there working, coaching, doing videos, right? This I'm comfortable with, right? Because I really think it's going to be a value add to everything that goes on in the press box. Now, and again, I'll go back to the facade where I said the facade was not a critical piece to the operation and the functionality of the rig. Great upgrade aesthetically, right? But this, you get actual real, the people who are up there are going to be working on it. It's going to be great, right? The facade will be nice to look at. Don't get me wrong. So
Well,
that's
Let
my.
me,
that's
let me
my-
add something that might make the medicine go down a little easier. You may remember that, first of all, I want to say, what Mr. Richter says in the bond advisory, I think we really need to be careful to adhere to. But both Rebecca and Georgiani remind me of the same thing. You may remember that when we spent the last $35 million on the bond from 2006, that part of that was we borrowed money from the reserve fund. And if you remember, the final amount that came through was we borrowed $2 million and we only needed $700,000. So we essentially saved, if you want to call that, from the fund balance, $1.3 million. And then if you want to add to that, if you remember, those of you who've been on the board for a few years, we sold the property across PHS for, I think it was $2.6 million. I could be wrong on that, 2.6, 2.8. So my point is that if we delay, as Don is suggesting, and come back with alternates, and we decide that those are good purposes, I don't think that stands in the way of the bond advisory and the original intent. The original intent of the bond advisory and the bond was how deeply do we go into debt for what purposes. If the board decides separately from that we have sufficient funds from the reserve fund to do part or all of this, then that's a separate decision and is based on the financial health of the district at that time. But right now, that looks pretty good.
I would be hesitant. Actually, I would say that I wouldn't be looking to use reserve funds for anything on this project. Right? Great that we have those funds available, but I think it's a bond product. It's a bond project, bond dollars. Now, granted, that builds in some interest costs, right? If we actually use, whatever. But because there's so much stuff. Every time we start talking about spending any money, we get into an opportunity cost conversation, right? Because dollars we spend, let's just say these are reserve dollars. Dollars we would spend on this, we can't spend on anything else, right? Anything else that would go to the classroom. Those. So again, and Lance, that goes back to my first point. The whole thing about it is scarcity, right?
Okay, so one more question, Charles.
Yeah.
And this is just for clarification, nothing more. You said you were concerned about the facade being labeled by the community as just athletics, right? Just an athletic thing. That's what they would say. Probably, and realistically, it's not at all. But that's probably what we would hear. I think you'd hear the same thing here, and if not even more, because this is just for coaches. People keeping clock. I understand that. Yeah, we need to expand it, but I don't understand how the fears of, or not the fears, but what you're concerned about
being labeled.
Right.
Yeah,
it's gonna be the
and
same.
so let's see. How do I explain that piece?
I don't think the original expansion is big enough in the first place.
Right. So we had an expansion of the.
It wasn't expanded big enough in the original drawing. In
Right.
my personal opinion.
And we had that conversation. Like, is this the right project? Did we go far enough in the bond scope? Right. We had that conversation, but there was an expansion to the bond to the press box in the original bond
in 2006.
No,
No.
just this one.
In
This one.
2016.
Pam, you're saying that the bond scope extension right now is not big enough.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
they originally did, it wasn't big enough.
Right. But so
Why would they? All right, that's fine.
So yeah.
It was
Anyway,
a mess.
and
To
my
answer your
comment was
question.
more along the lines of,
Just like the
if
facade.
you talk about spending money on athletic facilities, regardless of what it is, you're gonna get, there is a stigma, is what I was trying to say, right? There's a stigma, even though everything that goes on in that press box, it has to go on for every football game, right? And so we actually have people working in there, right? And I know they're in there on top of each other now, right? So it's basic economics, more is more, right? So.
Okay,
Okay, Charles, what's your motion?
So what's your motion?
I was gonna say go with alternate one, and the facade as a. I'm gonna use the word alternate again. Okay.
Yeah,
go
that's-
with yeah.
I
Okay,
think
go
it's
with
confusing.
alternate. Go with alternate. Bid alternate one.
Okay.
And bid the facade as an alternate item.
So you're giving
I know that's
wait, let me give Cliff Notes version for
Yeah.
people like me. Okay.
bigger press
We're
box.
gonna go with bigger press box.
Right.
Not the facade.
No,
For
the
them to
facade's
build
going to
that
be an
later.
option, right?
Option
and
for
that
later.
the facade's going to be but it's going to be an option, but we're going to bid it now.
So
Fair enough.
I would call it design alternate one.
Okay.
And bid alternate one.
So
because we are going to bid, we're going to design it the way it is shown and bid it as an alternate. Whereas there were two designs.
I get it. But
You want
So-
to add
so-
an expanded press box and bid the facade as an alternate.
Fair enough. So what would that add to the timeline? Would that, I'm getting clarification on this, would that add anything on the timeline if,
We will bring it to you in September like that.
okay. So if we, let's just say we approved,
There's a motion.
hypothetically,
not
over
yet.
here, okay?
Not yet.
We approve expanded press box and the facade.
No, they didn't.
It's still gonna be the same timeline as if we did it as the bid alternate one, as you would say right now. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Unless you reject that bid alternate in September. And then
That
we'll,
would push it,
we will put it on the shelf.
got it.
So one more thing, and then I'm done. You solved the problem with the facade by saying let's just wait, present it as an alternate bid in September, right? And that we got rid of that issue. Why can't we do the same thing here? Because if we're considering spending 3.4 maximum or around that area,
I'll tell you why. I can't design this part of the building inexplicate from what this would be. This, once I go past this point, I am into the existing structure. Everything is melded together. There's not like a, just chop off this part.
right?
It's all together because everything grows.
So you can't present a GMP for the alternate one, a GMP for bond scope, and then a GMP for the facade.
I can't. I can only design you a press box. Because unless you wanted me to just keep all of the rooms in the middle small, like this, and then give you some rooms past it, but I don't think that's what you
That
want.
wouldn't
You
add
would,
extra
that would be the
square footage
worst.
to the current
That would be the
ones.
worst thing I could do.
You
That
gonna
can't
rephrase that,
happen.
Charles?
Sir?
Rephrase that.
Well, okay. Let's get the semantics right. All right. So we're talking about design alternate one is what you were saying.
I would say expanded plan. The
Expanded
expanded plan of the press box.
Approve the expanded plan.
And then an bid alternate for the home side facade concept.
So you're gonna make a motion to accept the bond scope with the
Expanded plan.
expanded plan of the press box. And with the option to get the facade.
A bid option.
A bid option for the facade.
Bid alternate.
Bid alternate.
Bid alternate. Alternate for the facade.
Do you get that, Ms. Dawson?
He'll say it out loud. Hold
Yeah, I
on.
haven't
He's
said it
writing it.
yet.
He's writing it.
All right. We'll go with the expanded plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the facade is a bid alternate. If I make that as a motion, everybody understands
What we mean.
I do mean.
Okay,
What you
so
mean.
say the motion.
We got it? Okay. I move that we approve the expanded plan for the rig with the facade as a bid alternate. That is a motion.
Second.
So I have a motion made by Mr. Gooden and a second by Ms. Beegler. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor? Right, motion carries 5-4 and 2 against.
Would you actually call
Yeah.
for the no vote, Madam President?
Yes, may I please have the opposed votes? The opposed is Murphy and Barry. All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hoping to have worn you out with that. Now move on to the calendar.
Man, I was worn out 2 hours ago.
Sonia, will you come on up and help me a little bit here?
Can we just approve it?
I don't think we're gonna have a lot of discussion on this.
Hope you're right.
Not unless Mrs. Serrano would like to say something.
Ms. Ron,
Yes,
let me
sir.
see it. Oh, I like your shoes. All right.
I'm sorry, okay.
Explain it.
Yes, sounded like the board was ready to vote, so I was
was
gonna be
ready.
quiet.
I'm ready to make a motion.
This one's good.
We were asked to come back with one that ended by Memorial Day. I outlined for you at the last meeting what I thought would work. There's no changes from that other than we found out from Sonia that instead of 3 minutes added onto the day, I have to add 5 in order to get us over the 75,600. So my recommendation is, as you see on page 51, that you approve that newly modified calendar, realizing that it incorporates most of what the calendar committee wanted.
Yes, sir.
They still start on the same day, correct? You
Yes,
still have a
ma'am.
week off at Thanksgiving?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Correct? Still have a week off at spring break?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Correct? And you still have 1, 2, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 full weeks at Christmas.
That's-
For teachers, students get 2 extra days, so 12 days for students.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
I'm good with that.
Dr. Kelly, can you clarify? I know we're adding 5 minutes, but
Yes.
based on what we've done the previous year,
Previously.
are we adding total 15 minutes from what we used to have?
Total
yeah, we-
15 minutes from 2 years ago. Yes, sir.
We used to be at 7 hours, which is the bare minimum allowed by Texas, old Texas law. Now it's 7 minutes and 15 seconds if this is approved per day.
7 hours, 15 minutes.
15
Right now, it is 7 hours, 10 minutes. What did I say?
well, today, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
The new calendar next year,
7
15
hours and
minutes.
15 minutes.
So what time is what time?
Which is 5 minutes more than
I mean,
currently.
like, so
Be 2:30.
we're adding to the
15
end
in
of
the
the day?
last 2 years.
At the end of the day, yes.
So middle school and junior high, 350. They'll get out at 350.
Middle schools,
Yeah. Don't they get out at
3 3:45, so it would be 3:50.
Okay.
At the earliest.
That's the latest
All right.
campus.
Any questions?
I want to say a couple brief things about the calendar. Real brief, right? Okay, so I posted this to my Facebook page, and I got some really interesting input, right? We got a lot of different people who have to not buy into, but have to live by this calendar. Got a really good cross-section, right? Granted, it's only a few people because it's just my Facebook page, but there's a lot of things in the calendar that work for a lot of people, right? So thanks to the administration to coming back
thank you
with
for
this.
coming back with this.
And the second thing is, I don't know if this is, I just want to make sure, right, that the committee that you work with, I want them to know that when the board makes input and sends something back, right, it's not an aggressive move. It's not you guys aren't doing your job, you don't know what you're talking about. It's a dialogue between the two bodies, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so I really appreciate their work and your work in coordinating this, and I think this is a good shot.
Yes, sir.
No, I would just make a comment, Charles, and say that as well, that I think as a board member or as a board, we have a tough job because like Pam has said over the last couple of years that I've worked with her on this, I think we have to really take an evaluation of both, right? We hear from the parents what they're saying, be out before Memorial Day, and then we have our staff that we have to look at and what the staff wants are. So, I mean, it's funny. The one thing about being on the board that I would have never thought would have been the most controversial is the school calendar every year. And I think as a parent, before being on the board, I just came out and I just put on the refrigerator and went on vacation. So, again, I know Ms. Rano that you've worked hard and have to go back to these people and you have to be the spokesperson, for us and for this situation. So I thank you. But again, it looks like we'll be out and we got graduation. Done.
Thank
So-
you. I want to thank Ms. Weimer for working so hard for making sure we could get graduation on that Friday.
Ms. Weimer, woohoo.
Thank you both.
All right, is there a motion?
Rich, real quick, on the early, 3 things. What's the idea behind, just curiosity, it's been this way for a long time. What's the idea behind early release days? What's the whole thought process?
Traditionally, we've always had the early release because of the holidays and parents wanting to leave early.
Okay.
For graduation, then also the last day of school also.
Yeah,
Because it
that's-
helps the parents with the graduation and
Yes.
the programs at the schools. Yes,
Because-
sir.
Because, I'm sorry, and no, I was gonna reemphasize, the way I understood it's always been because parents normally would be checking their kids out
Yes, sir.
the day before to get ready to go on vacation. And the early release gives us the benefit of having the children there and getting the,
Time.
uh,
Yeah,
getting the
minutes.
attendance rate.
But also,
that
you know,
day.
Lance, in this particular one, we only have 2 early outs.
Mm-hmm.
The one for May is almost absolutely required because
Of graduation?
we scheduled graduation on the same day as the last day of school, which makes it very difficult
Yes.
on the high schools.
Sure.
So that's, you know, the only other real debatable one is the December 21st, but as you've heard.
Nope, that's fine.
you know,
And then I asked, on the 4th of September, I see that's a new staff development
Yes,
day,
sir.
Which, I sense have got an overall view of that, and I think that's very, as a former teacher, I think that date is very important for teachers, to implement after 2 weeks of being in school, to implement something that may be not adjusted correctly.
Right.
And I think that's a great day to make things run smoother throughout the school year, having that day, like maybe 3 weeks after they start work.
Correct.
So I think that was a good idea.
And staff development early is always much better, as you well
Yes,
know.
that's great.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that the school board trustees approve the 2018 to 2019 school year calendar as presented.
Second.
There's a motion made by Mr. Bakken and a second by Mr. Floyd. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor? Okay, the motion carries 7-4-0.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Ms. Serrano.
Board will adjourn at 8:19.